Hello, hello. How is everyone on today? God is good all the time. And so I wanted to I wanted to talk about a lesson in pruning out of John 15, 1 through 5. And so I hope that if you tuned in yesterday, you get a chance to comment on the video. If you have watched it or if you haven't, get a chance to take a break from the chaos of what goes on YouTube. Take a break from that. There's a lot of stuff going on YouTube, a lot of, just not positive things. You can find positive things, but, it's a lot of stuff surrounding, the major case and all of that. And so people steady are getting, following negativity and people still trying to be distractions. So, but just get a chance to take away from the chaos, break away from that. And let's talk about a lesson in pruning, John 15, 1 through 5. And so what I would like you to do is to read John 15, 1 through 5, and then comment on it. But years ago, this person is talking, the writer is talking about he lived in Fruitland, North Carolina. And he says it was an apple country, and several of his parishioners were growers. So when he stopped by to visit one of them, he found him mercifully cutting branches from one of the trees. And so the person that was cutting it, he says to him, he told me that to produce an abundant crop of the best fruit, he had to prune the branches. Okay, and some of you know what that means about pruning the branches. And if you grew up on a farm or you grew up on a fruit tree farm where, or you had a lot of trees on your property, fruit trees, then you do have to prune the branches. And it might look as if the tree is going to die, but new growth would spring from the wounds. And so, we know that pruning the branches and cleaning up trees, they might look like they're going to die. They might look skeletonly looking, but they actually look a lot better. And so it's important that we prune the branches of the trees. And so he goes on to talk about his conversation helped him to understand why the Lord sometimes acts as a pruning knife in our lives. And sometimes God has to prune us too. He has to prune us because sometimes we just need a cleaning up. You know what I mean? A scaling down and a cleaning up. And so to get to a plentiful crop of spiritual fruit, we must remove anything that hinders us from becoming the person he designed us to be. So if there's things in your life that are hindering you from becoming what God has designed you to be, it has to be pruned. It has to be removed. And there's a lot of things in our life sometimes that we don't even recognize, that we don't see, that needs to be removed, or it needs to be pruned or cleaned up. And sometimes we recognize them, but we're not ready to be cleaned up. We're not ready to have them removed out of our life. And sometimes we feel like we are enjoying our life so much that we can't give up the things that really are hindering us. And even if we can't see the hindrance at that time, it can hinder us in the future because of what we're doing currently. And so we do need to be pruned. We do need to be cleaned up in order to be the person that God has designed us to be. So in order to do that, we have to be pruned. And so the process is often painful, and it really is painful. I'm going to tell you, if you've been through some things, it is painful getting cleaned up. It is painful in the pruning process, but you will get through it. And it's painful as God cuts away fleshly habits and worldly attitudes. So if you have some fleshly habits that you're currently participating in, or you're dealing with these fleshly habits, recognize them. Ask God to show you if you don't know these fleshly habits, and ask God to show you the fleshly habits in your life so he can clean them up. He can remove those fleshly habits by pruning you. And these world attitudes, it's so many people that have world attitudes. And we see it today, the worldly attitudes, and they're living by the world standards instead of by God's standards, the biblical principle standards. And so therefore, God has to prune you. He has to prune you. His pruning results in us becoming a more accurate reflection of Jesus Christ. And the only way you can become a more accurate reflection of Jesus Christ is by his pruning. Because if you don't allow God to prune you, then you can't become a more accurate reflection of Jesus Christ. And so no man, boy or girl or woman can prune you like God can. See, they can prune you for the world standards or their worldly attitudes, or they can prune you for their habits or what they want to see in you. That's man, boy, girl, or woman. But when God does the pruning, he does you the way that is a reflection, a more accurate reflection of Jesus Christ. And then, we talk about being loved. See, God don't love us in a way of being coddled. Some people want to be coddled, and that's not, the love of God. But being loved by God, it doesn't mean being coddled. That's not the love of God. And I want you to know that. But you know what? And also, people say, well, I want to be comfortable. I just want to, be comfortable. Well, that's not God's primary interest either, for you to be comfortable, for you to have that, that comfort, be comfortable. That's not his primary interest either. It's not. And not being coddled. So we have to understand that, because there are people that I just want to be, they want you to coddle them. They might not come directly out and say it, but they want you to coddle them, and they think that God's interest is your primary comfort. That's not true either. And so, just as a grower prunes an apple tree to get a bountiful harvest, so God must sometimes cause us pain in order to bring greater forth spiritual growth and letting go of things. And if you've been through some traumatic situations that you have not been able to get past or get over, it is painful during the pruning process, because if you are allowing God to help you through those circumstances, those experiences, those traumatic situations, it can be very, 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 very painful. When you're going through it and trying to get through it, it can be painful. But he has to sometimes cause us pain, in order to bring forth greater spiritual growth. And that's greater spiritual growth is that Christ-like character and the abundance of God, and that Christ-like character. So if you are going through some things, hopefully, just this inspirational video, because it's meant to be inspirational, will give you a lesson in pruning. But you also need to read John 15, 1 through 5. And study the word, and study to show yourself approved, and study to better understand the lesson in pruning. And so, again, it's not easy. When you've been through some things and you're going through some stuff and you're trying to let go of some things, it's difficult. And God can bring pain in order to bring forth a greater spiritual growth. So I do hope on today that, you will take the time, take a break away from the chaos, take a break away from, the negativity, take a break away from things that influence bad things, influence negative thoughts, influence toxic thoughts, things that influence you to not feel good, things that influence you to not be able to spiritually grow, things that influence you to not be able to have harmonious output, output in your life, things that influence you to bicker, bicker between one another. We don't need those things in our life. So take a break away from the chaos of that kind of stuff, and spend that break time that you've taken away. Spend your time growing closer to Christ. Spend your time getting to know Christ better, his word, and growing closer to him, and allowing him to prune you and to remove the things in your life that do not help you grow closer to Christ, that does not help bring forth a greater spiritual growth of Christ-like character and abundance in your life. So that's the lesson in pruning. And so, again, if you are trying to read the Bible in a year, Exodus 25, chapters 25 through 27, you will be able to do it. And may God bless you all on today. And then don't forget to check out my, Instagram channel, and I did a video yesterday, the love of jewelry making. And so I hope you got a chance to watch it. And if you didn't, you can let me know because I actually put it on private for now. And then I probably will bring it back out later. But I put it on private for a reason. But I just wanted you to actually get an opportunity to, take a break away from the chaos, take a break away from all that negative stuff, and get back in the spiritual growth of Christ. God bless you all on today. Love you. Peace out.